You are guaranteed to be the least favorite person in your team if you can't provide feedback properly. You wouldn't only lose trust and ruin your relationships, it will damage your career too. But when you do it right, you help people grow and they'll follow your lead. So they will enjoy working with you, and that's gonna earn you a lot of respect. Giving feedback is an essential communication skill, and in this video I'm gonna outline 6 key points you need to keep in mind when providing feedback. One of the most important things that we keep forgetting when providing feedback is thinking about the other side. The problem is they don't have your brain, and you can assume they understand everything you are trying to say or address. You need to be as specific as possible about the thing that you are trying to convey, and you must put in perspective the educational aspect. So you are helping the other side improve by educating them, which means you must provide arguments why A is better than B and what are the benefits of going with this approach instead of that one. On top of that, the feedback you provide must be actionable so that the other side can act upon. And again, the more specific you are, the better, because the other side can take action easily. Now let me give you an example. Instead of saying you need to improve your code, you can say, I find this function a bit hard to read and understand, and I would have split it into a few smaller ones that are gonna be easy to follow, to understand, and to maintain over time. When you say you need to improve your code, you're not educating the other side. In fact, you're making it more confusing for them because they don't know exactly what do you mean. They don't have your brain and they couldn't make assumptions what aspects can be done better. In fact, if they could have done better, they could have done that at the get-go. On the flip side, when you say, I find this code hard to read and understand, and I would have split it into several functions that are going to be easy to read and understand, and it's going to be easy to maintain, you're explaining what is the issue, why is it problematic, what's the solution, and how you are going to benefit out of that solution. So effectively, you are educating the other side, and it is much more likely for them to change their behavior next time. That brings us nicely to focusing on the behavior rather than the personality. So whenever you are providing feedback, keep in mind to address what they've done instead of who they are. When you're talking about who they are, it's going to be taken as an attack to their personality, and obviously they are going to start getting defensive. And trust me, that's not a route you want to take, and that's not going to be productive by any means. Instead, when we are focusing on the behavior, it helps them reflect and improve because we are separating who from what. That's simply because the behavior is something that we as humans can change over time, but the personality is something that is hard to change. Remember to use neutral language, don't do any assumptions, and avoid labeling people at all costs. Just focus on the behavior, explain the impact, and show belief in their abilities. To give an example, instead of saying you always skip the tests and you are careless, which is focusing on their personality and is labeling them, you can say something like, whenever we skip the tests, we always face regression issues, and I strongly believe that we can do way better if we put some attention on the tests. That's something that helps them reflect on their behavior and motivates them to improve. Now, providing feedback shouldn't always be about the bad or the negative. Rather, it should also include the good and the positive, and we need to find a good balance between them. When you're addressing only the bad stuff, it brings people down and they will see you as somebody who is always complaining and finding mistakes. And on the flip side, if you're always praising them and talking only about the great stuff they are doing, you are preventing their growth. And that's an additional point why these two must be in balance. It helps other side understand what they can keep doing, what's great, and what they need to change or what they can improve. So the positive is going to reinforce the good behavior over time, and the constructive is going to drive improvement. A very important aspect to keep in mind when balancing positive and negative is to be genuine. Maybe you've heard of, or maybe you're familiar with the sandwich technique, where you can give something positive, then something negative, and then again something positive to reinforce. That technique can easily turn into a trap because people can feel what's your intention. You are way better off to stay genuine and don't come up with things for the sake of it. As a takeaway, when you keep the balance between the positive and the negative, you are going to be seen as somebody who is looking at the entire picture and genuinely wants to help people. And that's how you are going to build credibility and respect. Feedback loses its power if delayed, and that's because we as humans forget things, and we are going to forget the context if the feedback is given for something that happened 2 or 3 weeks ago. The quicker the feedback, the better, because it enables faster growth, and it's gonna prevent small things to become bigger, to be repeated, or even worse, to become habits. By providing feedback faster, we show people that we care for them and their growth, because they can improve before the actual performance review that happens twice or once a year. That makes feedback feel normal and expected, and it helps build culture where feedback is normal and expected. A very important thing to point out here is that right timing doesn't mean right away. You need to make sure that the timing when providing feedback is emotionally appropriate. Let me explain. Oftentimes we are getting emotional when we are talking about certain things. And in that sense, providing feedback while being under huge emotional load is not the best thing you can do, and that's both for you and for the other side. It's way better to wait a little bit until the emotions settle so that you are going to have productive conversation. That brings us to talking about intentions when providing feedback. Wrong intent feels wrong even if your words are amazing. And people can sense whether you are trying to be educational, whether you are trying to help them grow and improve, or you are simply trying to prove a point or vent out over something. The intention shapes the tone and the choice of words. One thing to always keep in mind before providing feedback is to ask yourself, am I helping the other side grow and get better? Or is it only making me feel better? Is it maybe going to help the entire team or the collective? Or is it just me throwing some frustrations away? And that's going to help you understand what kind of feedback you are trying to provide and how valuable or impactful it is going to be perceived on the other side. And remember that the goal of the feedback should always be growth, not guilt. When you have a clean intention, a constructive language comes naturally. And with the right intention, you build trust and influence. And over time, it's going to position you as somebody whose feedback matters a lot. You are going to be seen as somebody who is establishing better culture where people can grow, not defend. And that's gonna help you get way stronger reputation. Providing feedback shouldn't be a one-way street, and you need to remember to invite dialogue. You can always ask, how do you feel about this? It shows the other side that you also value their perspective, and it shifts the tone to, we are trying to figure this out together. It gives space to the other side to explain, which very often changes the understanding of the whole context. And so the takeaway to remember is to ask questions. It's gonna turn the feedback to growth session instead of blame session. Very often it's gonna help you learn new things or get better understanding of the context or maybe things that you have missed out. And additionally, it's gonna help the other side feel heard, which is gonna increase the likelihood for them to act on the feedback. And that's how you can turn the feedback into an improvement and growth for people. Now, if you find this useful and if you wanna learn more about utilizing feedback to grow your career, I can help you by providing one-on-one mentorship. So find a link below this video and let's talk.